Hello and welcome to my show Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We're back with a new episode from the heart of Pakistan. Today's recipe is very interesting and it dates back to the time when Pakistan got its independence in the year 1947. We're making a recipe which was brought to Pakistan by the Memon people. Now, so who are the Memon people, or who's the Memon community of Pakistan? These were the biggest businessmen in the subcontinent who, after the partition of 1947, came to Pakistan from the Indian occupied part of the subcontinent. Nowadays also, if you go to the city of Karachi, which is the cosmopolitan capital of Pakistan, you will see that most of the businesses which are functioning on the highest profitable margins, or who are basically managing the biggest businesses of Pakistan, are the Memons or the Memon community. Back in the day when the subcontinent was one, there was a lot of Memon community in the city of, in the country of Nepal, and the city would be Kathmandu. So these people were living there and they adopted a lot of recipes which were a part of the cuisine in that country. So this recipe, what I'm teaching you today, is known as coconut chicken curry. It is very easy. It is also known as chicken coconut curry. You can call it any name, but the ingredients would be the same. So what are the ingredients for today? It's a very light recipe. It is not that heavy on oil also, and it uses coconut milk and normal milk also. In front of you I have a jar of coconut milk. You can see that when you mix the coconut milk, it has a little bit of fat content in it, natural fats basically, not something which we add. It's like a little creamy as compared to the normal milk. Then you need around half a kilogram of chicken, which is chicken boneless. Then you need around 1 cup of normal milk. You need some coriander powder, you need some cumin powder, you need some turmeric powder, you need some ginger, garlic, red chili powder, red chili flakes, and then you need some lemon. On the other hand, you need around 2 tomatoes, 2 onions, some coriander fresh, and some mint leaves towards the end. This recipe will be made in 2 parts, and the first part would be getting ready with the chicken. So what I'll do is I'll just take the cling wrap off, and we shall make fillets of the chicken. The chicken must be thoroughly washed. I'll cut it from between and we'll take this part out. This is also considered as the undercut or the softest part of the chicken, which actually cooks much more quicker as compared to any other part of the bird. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to cut the piece like this. Keep it on the side. And now cut it from between. So always put your hand here, open it, and keep going in. You need to make fillets, and we shall then fry these. This is the thin part, so I'll just use it like this. That's why I've cut it. If there is additional fat which is present over here, we'll just take it out and discard it on the side. So does this part have some fat, and we shall discard this part also. For this recipe you need to keep it very light, so we won't be using a lot of the fat that the chicken has. Just cut through it and you have the fillet. Okay, now these pieces will go directly. Now what do you need to do? You need to salt the chicken first, just a bit, so just spread it out and take some salt. That is it. So I'm just going to sprinkle some salt on the chicken directly. Just massage it in so that it sits and sticks properly. Turn it around, do the same for the other side. And then we shall take a frying pan and add some oil to it. As I told you, this recipe will be made in 2 parts. So the chicken is ready. Now what do you need? You need a new pan. I'll take a flatter pan and I'll keep it over here. Increase the heat to full. And now add some oil. We'll add around half a cup of oil to lightly fry the chicken. So transfer the oil. And whenever you're cooking outdoors, try putting a cling wrap on anything which is more towards the liquidy side. Why? Because anything can fall in, like if you have trees or if you have some nature around you. So you need to avoid all of that. Okay, so once the pan comes to heat, we'll add the chicken in that. So what I'll do momentarily is I'll take this knife, I'll keep it on the side over here, and I'll just shift the board. I need another board. I'll pick up a green board and I'll keep it over here. The green board comes here, and just push this on the side so that you can avoid the heat from the stove. Now you need a little bit of ginger and around 2 pieces of garlic. So I'll just finely slice the ginger roughly, and I'll just press the garlic like this. Now I just want to season the oil with all the flavor ginger and garlic releases. So we'll add this and then we'll just stir it in. Turn it around and let it deep fry. This is done. Now what we'll do is we'll add the chicken fillets in it. Reduce the heat to medium. It must not be on really high. And start adding the chicken pieces. There's nothing in it. We are just going to cook it for 2 minutes each side. Why? Because then the remaining will be cooked in the sauce we'll be making for this recipe. And the chicken is done. Give it 2 minutes each side and then we shall flip the chicken pieces. I'll change the stove, I'll bring it over here, keep it on medium and let it cook. So the next step is you need to get ready with this sauce. And what do you need for the sauce? I'll just let you know after I shift this to back. You need a fresh pan now. So what I'll do is I'll pick up a smaller one and I'll bring it over here. Bring it to heat, let's say on medium, and now get ready with all the other ingredients. You need some onions. So I'll take around 2 onions, and for this recipe you need to finely chop the onions. Make some cuts. And finely chop it. Take this part and throw it on the side. And it's almost 2 minutes now, and now I'll change the side of the chicken just in another minute. Cut the onion fine and keep the root on the side. This goes here. You need it to be really fine. Why? Because we want the sauce to be really creamy and really smooth. So this much is enough. Why? Because the onions were a little bigger than normal. Now you have to add around 4 tablespoons of oil and transfer all the onions into the pan. Add around, you could say, 2 pinches of salt and mix it up. Give it a lid and let it cook. On the other hand, the chicken is almost done from one side. What I'll do is I'll change the side. This is done. Now let it cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. So now once the onions are in, as you can see, they're nice and translucent. You just reduce the heat to low. Now you need to add some garlic. For this recipe, you won't be shredding the garlic, but you will be finely chopping it. So some pieces are bigger, some pieces are smaller. So what I'll do is I'll just take an average and I shall just start finely chopping. What I usually do is I press the garlic like this and then I chop it. The reason behind that is it makes the garlic really fine. So bring it close and start chopping it. You want the garlic to be equally chopped so that you maintain the texture of the recipe. Always clean the blade and mix it again. This is done. Now what I'll do is the chicken is also done, so I'll just dish it out momentarily, switch the stove off and transfer all the chicken over here. I'll rest the chicken on the side, and now what I'll do is I'll just add all the garlic in this and let it cook for another 2 minutes. Increase the heat to full just for like 30 seconds. Mix it up. And reduce the heat to the pilot and let it cook for 2 minutes. So till the time this is cooking, we'll go for a short break, and once we're back, I'll let you know what to do. Keep watching Indus Cuisine. Welcome back. You're watching Indus Cuisine and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. During the break, I just did one thing. I brought the water to boil and I let the onions cook. And now what will we do next? I'll let you know now. You just need to add some tomatoes, which we'll finely cut. And as everyone knows that the tomatoes eventually fall apart on high heat. Try making all the pieces equal when you're cutting them and then transfer it over here. So what I'll do is I'll increase the heat to full, like really hot, and then transfer the tomatoes. It's a very easy recipe if you follow it step by step. Oops. So now you'll add around a pinch of salt so that the tomatoes start sweating. Mix it up. And as you can see, the water has come to boil. Reduce the heat. Why? Because you do not want to overcook the rice. We'll be cooking the rice for only 7 minutes and I'm using basmati rice today. Okay, give the tomatoes a lid and spread them out fairly. Why? Because you want the tomatoes to get really soft. So they're cooking on high heat, and now we shall get ready with some other things. You need some ginger for this recipe, so what we'll do is we'll shred the ginger, and I'll take the smaller piece. Keep this over here. Finely shred it. Turn it around. And throw this in the bin. This is done. Shake it up. Pull the additional out. And for this recipe, you do not need a lot of ginger. Why? Because it's more of a garlic-dominated recipe. Pass your knife, scoop it up, transfer it in. Pick the spatula, mix it around, and spread it. As you can see, the tomatoes are cooking. They're giving out their color also. And now let's start mashing them slowly. You want the tomatoes to be mashed properly. Why? Because if you add anything on top before the tomatoes are very soft, what will happen is that they won't mash and then they'll maintain their texture, and we don't want that texture. We want it to be really, really fine. Give it a lid now and let it cook for another 2 minutes. So till the time this is cooking, what we'll do is we'll just clean up a bit and then I'll let you know what to do next. So now the tomatoes are nicely soft, and as you can see that the color, the red color of the tomatoes is out in the oil, and the onion and the tomatoes are like a fine mash. What I'll do now is I'll take the tomato on the side like this and I'll let the oil come out on the other side. Just mash it up more. And now you have to start cooking the spices. So bring the oil out on one side so that we give a chance for the spices to fry. Okay, this is done. Increase the heat to medium. It was low on the pilot. And now add the coriander powder. The coriander powder goes on this side. Then we add the cumin powder. Then we add the turmeric powder, red chili powder, and the red chili flakes. We shall cook all of this for, let's say, around 30 seconds. Just spread it out so that the spices get a nice chance to fry, and this will enhance the heat. So till the time this is cooking, what we'll do on the other hand is we'll take the rice out. Why? Because the rice is ready. Just drain all of this water out and then keep the rice on the side, and then I'll let you know what to do next for the rice also. So now everything's cooked. Now what you need to do is mix up all the spices, bring it together. And shift all of this to a wok. The wok goes here. And remember, the rice is cooked. I've just dished it out. Increase the heat over here and transfer all of this into the wok. Make sure to scrape out all the spices and all the oil that is at the bottom or on the edges of the pan. Why? Because that is all the flavor we want to add back into the wok. Okay, so now firstly what will we do? We shall add some coconut milk. And remember one thing, whenever you're adding coconut milk, you have to mix it again. So I'll just mix it again in front of you. Keep this on the side and add the coconut milk. Increase the heat to full and start mixing this again. You can get coconut milk in two forms. The first form would be the powdered form, in which you just have to add milk or water, depends on the consistency you want, and mix it in just like normal powdered milk. Or the other form would be in a can also, which you can find and you can use also. It's very easy to find coconut milk, and this recipe is based around coconut milk, and it gets its flavor from there only. So now, the next thing, what do you need? You need to add the chicken and reduce the heat momentarily and let it go in. You need to dip it in. Why? Because the chicken is just 70% cooked. It's not fully cooked. The remaining will be cooked in this. I need to show you one more thing, which is in the plate. You can see all of this juice. This is called the resting juice, which you'll add back over here. Why? Because this is all the flavor that seeps out of the chicken, and it will add a kick towards the final recipe. This is how I could put it, like in the easiest form. Reduce the heat, and now we need to add the normal milk. The normal milk is over here. I'll just take the cling off, transfer the milk, and now bring it to boil. This recipe does not have any water. It will be a very nice, smooth recipe with milk only and with coconut milk only, not with any form of water or any other liquid. Why? Because that will water it down and the flavor will not be as good as it should be. Okay, so now we'll shift this over here, bring it to heat, reduce the heat over here, and we'll get ready with the final thing. The final thing is some garlic rice, and that garlic rice will have a slight twist to it. When it comes to boil, give it a lid, but not airtight, just like on towards the side, so that nothing falls in, and reduce it to medium. Now let the chicken cook for 10 minutes on medium heat. It's on medium, let me just check. It is, and now we shall continue. You need a fresh pan now firstly, so I'll pick up a pan from here and I'll keep it here. You need garlic, you need some coriander roots, and this is it. So what I'll do is I'll pick up the coriander, pull it, and as you can see, for this recipe, or for the rice, we shall be using the roots only. Now what is the reason? We're using the roots only. Why? Because the roots have a very powerful flavor and a crunch which we shall add in the rice. So just really finely, as close as you can, paper thin if possible, chop the coriander slowly and gradually. And when you feel that the leaves are coming, you have to stop. So this remaining will be used later, which I shall just put over here in another angle so that I can remember that this was the one which I have to use first. Now we need some oil, around 4 to 5 tablespoons. Now for this you do need oil. Why? Because you need to stir fry the rice just a little bit. So the oil is over here. What I'll do is I'll increase the heat to full. For this recipe you need to keep the heat really high. So add around 4 tablespoons of oil, that is it, and keep the remaining on the side. So just shift the coriander towards the left. Now on the other hand, you can see that this is nicely boiling on medium heat, and let it boil. Okay, take garlic cloves, around 4 medium sized, place them over here like this and start pressing them down. This is what you need to do, and then finely chop them. The oil needs to be really hot for this recipe, remember that. And the garlic needs to be fine and equally chopped. This is done. Scoop it up, transfer it to the pan, and now let the garlic fry till it gets brown. You need the garlic to be brown, so I'll add around 2 pinches of salt, and this will get brown really quickly. So just tilt the pan and keep shaking it. Deep fry the garlic and don't let it burn. As you can see, the garlic is brown now. Now what we'll do is we'll add the coriander sticks. Tilt it and let it fry. Reduce the heat over here also, and just take a look that it's cooked nicely. The chicken is also cooked. What I'll do now is I'll reduce the heat to the pilot and let it sit in hot oil. This is almost done. You need to add around ½ teaspoon of salt, mix it up and transfer the rice in. The rice goes in. This is how you have or you enjoy this recipe. Increase the heat again and start mixing it. This is done. Flip it. And now let it rest for at least 2 minutes. The lid is over here. I'll pick it up, keep it over here. Now what I'll do is I'll dish this recipe out, but before that you need to add a little bit of lemon to the chicken sauce. Okay, so add the lemon and it is done. In the end you need some coriander. As I told you, I saved it over here. I'll transfer it here, turn it around like a cigar, fold it like a cigar, and then go in. Just a bit, goes on top, mix it up, and now it's ready to be served. So now I'll show you the final look of the recipe just in a few moments. As you can see, today's recipe is ready. It was very easy and I've dished out for only one person. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. I hope you liked today's recipe. Take care of yourself, lovely people. Bye-bye.